all to today's session. I hope all of you are doing perfect at your places. Today's topic is rural life and society, and in this chapter you will learn about the land revenue policy under the British, the commercialization of agriculture, case study, indigo plantation. Mind opener, certain questions that you have to answer on your own. So in olden days in India, land was held for life. Farmers cultivated their land for generations and it was seen as belonging to their family. Nobody could evict them as long as they paid a part of their produce as tax, and villages were largely self-sufficient. During the rule of Sher Shah Suri and was measured and pattas, written records of land ownership were given for the first time. Revenue was charged depending on the fertility of the soil. You have already read about the Mansabdari system under the Mughals in a previous class, and in times of drought or famine, the revenue was reduced or at times even not collected. तो olden times में जो आपके land revenue taxes होते थे, जब तक आप tax दे रहे हो तब तक वो land आपके पास रहेगा. जहाँ पे आपने tax या revenue देना बंद कर दिया, वहीं से आप उसकी ownership चली जाती थी. So let's see the land revenue policy under the British. Everything changed when the company took control of revenue collection. Instead of a part of the produce, the company demanded a fixed amount in cash. To pay the amount, farmers had to cultivate cash crops and like cotton, poppy and indigo, which brought in more money than food crops like wheat or rice. Farmers who earlier grew their own food now had to buy part of their requirements. The Indian villages were no longer self-sufficient. The primary motive of the British, like any other imperial power, was to collect revenue from land. However, that could not be achieved without a viable land revenue collection system. The British engaged themselves in evolving a theory that could legitimize the practice of economic exploitation of the Indian peasantry. Therefore, the British devised several methods to ensure a steady flow of revenue from India. तो पहले के जो practices थे उसमें बहुत over exploitation हो रहा था farmers का या land owners का. So Britishers wanted a policy जहाँ पे इन land owners के साथ एक steady revenue collection policy इंडिया में लाई जाए. So the British introduced three different types of land revenue settlements in different parts of India. The Zamindari system or permanent settlement of Bengal, the Ryotwari system and the Mahalwari system. Let's study about them one by one in detail. So number one was the permanent settlement, which was brought about in 1793. The permanent settlement was introduced by Lord Cornwallis in Bengal in 1793. The main provisions of the settlement included the zamindars were made the owners of the land. They worked as agents of the government in collecting the land revenue. The zamindars had to pay about 89% of the collected land revenue to the government. The zamindars were permitted to retain 11% of the revenue collected. The land revenue was fixed for 10 years on a permanent basis, and the zamindars had hereditary rights over the zamindari. So permanent settlement के अंदर क्या था? जमींदार्स को परमानेंट ओनर्स लैंड का बना दिया गया था. 11% लैंड रेवेन्यू कलेक्ट किया जाता था, उनको पूरा राइट था, एंड लैंड रेवेन्यू वाज फिक्स्ड फॉर नेक्स्ट 10 years and it was also hereditary. The economic consequences of the permanent settlement were far-reaching. It created a new class of landlords in the form of zamindars who became the political allies of the British. It also provided financial security to the zamindars. Many of the waste lands and forests became cultivable. The permanent settlement was a heavy and oppressive assessment, and taxes were often collected by the oppressive methods. The position of the actual cultivators of the soil worsened as they could be evicted by the zamindars or non-payment of dues. अब इसके कुछ पॉजिटिव चीज़ें भी हुई थी, जैसे कि जो अनकल्टिवेबल फॉरेस्ट थे वो कल्टिवेबल में कन्वर्ट हो गए थे, बट नेगेटिव इम्पैक्ट क्या था कि अगर जमींदार्स को लैंड ओनर्स नहीं दे पाते थे पैसे, नॉन पेमेंट ऑफ ड्यूज की वजह से वो उनको एविक्ट कर दिया करते थे, और उसकी वजह से एक्चुअल कल्टिवेटर्स की हालत बहुत ज़्यादा खराब हो गई थी. In the long run, this settlement benefited the landlords more than the government, and by increasing the area under cultivation, the land revenue collected by the peasants went up, while the amount that they had to pay to the state remained fixed. तो जितना भी land revenue था peasants को देने के लिए वो तो increase हो चुका था, state को जो देना था वो permanent या fixed ही था. Then came the Ryotwari system in 1820. This system of revenue collection was introduced in Bombay and Madras presidencies. The farmers, the Ryots, were considered the owners of the land and the land revenue was collected directly from them. The rate of revenue was fixed at half of the total produce. Additionally, the revenue was fixed according to the fertility of the soil. This system was settled for a period of 30 years and after which it could be revised. अब Ryotwari system 1820 में आया, यहाँ ये बॉम्बे और मद्रास प्रेसिडेंसीज में इंट्रोड्यूस हो चुका था एंड दीज द फार्मर्स द रियोट्स वर कंसिडर्ड द ओनर्स ऑफ द लैंड एंड द सिस्टम वाज सेटल्ड फॉर अ पीरियड ऑफ 30 इयर्स, जिसके बाद इसको दोबारा रिवाइज किया जा सकता था. Then came the Mehalwari system 1830. The term Mahal means a village. The Mehalwari settlement was introduced in the modern day Uttar Pradesh, certain parts of Madhya Pradesh and Punjab by Holt Mackenzie in 1822. The settlement was an agreement between the village headman and the British. अब आया Mehalwari system 1880. महल का मतलब होता है village. तो ये आपके modern day उत्तर प्रदेश और मध्य प्रदेश की और पंजाब के कुछ parts में start हो गया था. According to Mackenzie, the village was a vital part of the system that needed to be preserved. He instructed the collectors to inspect and measure the fields, record the customs and rights of the people living in different groups, and calculate the revenue which the village headman had to pay. As per this settlement, the village headman or talukdar was responsible for collecting the revenue from the villagers and handing it over to the British. The rate of revenue was approximately half of the total price. तो Mackenzie के हिसाब से village क्योंकि बहुत important part था, so this system had to be preserved for the better collection of the land revenues. Now, impact of land revenue settlements. The land revenue settlements introduced by the company reduced the condition of the farmers considerably. These settlements implemented in various parts of the country aimed to extract the maximum revenue. The farmers suffered terribly under this system. Land became a saleable commodity which could be bought, sold or mortgaged in times of need. Due to high rates of revenue, farmers were forced to sell their land. This led to an increase in beggars or bonded laborers. The zamindars did not take any interest in improving the agricultural methods or yields. They did not provide irrigation facilities, seeds, plows and fertilizers. Failure of rains resulted in famines and the self-sufficiency of the villages was destroyed. There was a shift towards the cultivation of commercial crops and these crops were called the cash crops. अब जो land था वो saleable commodity की तरह use हो चुका था, जिसको खरीदा भी जा सकता था, बेचा भी जा सकता था. And सबसे बड़ी चीज़ क्या हुई कि commercial crops को grow करना ज़्यादा start कर दिया था and these crops were also known as the cash crops. Now, the fact zone, there was widespread impoverishment and dispossession of land among the cultivating communities of North India in the 1830s and 1840s, which was eventually expressed itself in the popular uprising of 1857. Now happened the commercialization of agriculture. The British not only changed the existing land systems of the country but also altered the nature and pattern of production. Previously, the village production was meant to fulfill village needs, but the British replaced this with the production aimed at meeting market demands. Under this system, the objective of production was determined by the goal of selling goods, and this led to the practice of growing specialized crops by the peasants, and this is known as the commercialization of agriculture. तो यहीं से आपका क्या हो गया था? The Britishers ने सिर्फ लैंड सिस्टम को ही चेंज नहीं किया था बट ऑल्सो दे ऑल्टर्ड द चेंज ऑफ ग्रोइंग क्रॉप्स. तो ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा कैश क्रॉप्स ग्रो होने लग गए थे एंड दैट इज हाउ द कमर्शियलाइजेशन ऑफ एग्रीकल्चर ऑल्सो बिगैन. As a result of the industrialization in England, the demand for raw materials grew. Consequently, the British economic policies in India were governed by the needs of the British industries. Hence, the area of cultivation of crops like indigo, cotton, tea, opium and jute needed by the British industries was expanded. Plantations were completely under British control. Indian peasants were paid very low wages and were exploited by the plantation owners, called the planters, who were mostly Englishmen. तो ये इंडस्ट्रियलाइजेशन जो इंग्लैंड में स्टार्ट हुआ था उसकी वजह से रॉ मटेरियल्स की डिमांड बढ़ गई थी, जिसकी वजह से ब्रिटिश इकोनॉमिक पॉलिसीज जो इंडिया में थी दे वर गवर्न्ड बाय द नीड्स ऑफ द ब्रिटिश एम्पायर. उनको जैसी जरूरत होती थी वैसा यहाँ पे पॉलिसीज बनाई जाती थी. Now, case study, indigo plantation. The term indigo is derived from the Greek word indikon, meaning from India. Indigo is a natural blue dye used for coloring clothes. It is obtained from the indigo plant. Indigo was the first crop to be grown on the British plantations. The British required a regular supply of indigo for the textile factories. Since the climate of England was unsuitable for growing indigo, they imported it from the other places such as North America and West Indies. During the late 18th century, indigo cultivation collapsed. And in these regions, and the British were forced to seek supplies from elsewhere. Due to industrial revolution, the demand for indigo in the textile industry increased. Further, the Britain turned to India, which had been growing indigo since medieval times, and through only on a small scale. The British forced the farmers in Bengal to grow indigo extensively. The cultivation of indigo was a labor-intensive job. The indigo planters gave loans to the cultivators to grow crops. Later, the planters informed the peasants that the loans could not be repaid by supplying indigo at fixed rates. Violation of this agreement led to the large-scale violence. The oppressive system, including inhumane conditions or actions like holding the cultivator and his family as prisoners, burning their homes, etc., eventually forced the peasants to revolt अगेंस्ट द ब्रिटिश इन 1859. अभी क्या हुआ, इंडिगो की सप्लाई अमेरिका में लंदन में पॉसिबल थी नहीं, तो अलग अलग लोकेशन से पहले ही ब्रिटिशर्स इंपोर्ट कराया करते थे. नाउ ड्यू टू सम रीजंस इंडिया से उनको लेना पड़ा, बट इंडिया में स्मॉल स्केल लेवल पे ये आपका इंडिगो प्रोड्यूस हो रहा था. उन्होंने फोर्स किया फार्मर्स को कि ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा ग्रो किया जाए. फिर एक्सट्रीम रिजीम इनह्यूमेन एक्शंस लिए गए इंडियंस के अगेंस्ट में ही, एंड दैट लेड टू द रिवोल्ट अगेंस्ट द ब्रिटिशर्स by the peasants in 1859. Then happened the Indigo Revolt. The Indigo Revolt of 1859 to 60 in Bengal was a powerful peasant uprising. Thousands of peasants refused to grow indigo on their land. They attacked the indigo factories. The gomsthas or agents of the planters were beaten in many places. Even women participated in the Indigo Rebellion. At some locations, local zamindars joined the peasants. The revolt was led by Bhishun Charan Biswas and Digambar Biswas, and other leaders included Kader Molla of Pabna and Rafiq Mondal of Malda. तो अलग अलग लोकेशन से ये रिवोल्ट स्टार्ट हो गया. बंगाल फार्मर्स ने मना कर दिया कि हम अपने ज़मीन पर इंडिगो को नहीं ग्रो करवाएंगे, and this started a very furious uprising of the revolt of the peasants against the Britishers. This widespread rebellion forced the government to act swiftly. An Indigo Commission was set up to examine the system of indigo production. The planters shifted to Bihar. Eventually, they were forced to shut down their workshops, and British banned forced indigo cultivation. उसके बाद Indigo Commission को set up किया गया to look into the matter, and as a consequence, all the workshops were shut down, and the British banned forced indigo cultivation. Fact zone. Dinabandhu Mitra wrote a play called Neel Darpan in 1860, which highlighted the pitiable condition of indigo farmers. So, Neel Darpan 1860 में दीनबंधु मित्रा ने ये प्ले बनाया था, जिसमें बहुत ही जो पिटी कंडीशंस थी उस टाइम के फार्मर्स की वो दिखाया था of the indigo farmers. Now the term bag, legitimized to make unfair practices official or legal, evict to expel from their property by a legal process, mortgage, a legal agreement used to secure a loan, collapse, to fall down suddenly. Flashback, the East India Company introduced 3 new revenue settlements: permanent settlement, Ryotwari settlement and Mehelwari settlement. The permanent settlement was introduced by Lord Cornwallis in Bengal in 1793. The Ryotwari system was introduced in the Bombay and Madras presidencies. The Mehelwari system was introduced in present-day western Uttar Pradesh, parts of Madhya Pradesh and Punjab. The land revenue settlements reduced the condition of the peasants considerably. Land became a saleable commodity. The peasants were forced to grow cash crops such as indigo, jute, oilseeds, sugarcane, tea, coffee and cotton, and the indigo cultivation in Bengal led to a rebellion in 1859 to 60. So how did entire agriculture happen? How did the commercialization happen? And what led to the indigo revolt in 1859 to 60 is what we have read in this chapter. Now the evaluation time, fill in the given OMR sheet to choose the correct option. The new revenue collectors were called the zamindars. Now fill in the blanks. Dash auction the right to collect revenue to the highest bidder, the Britishers. Write T for true and F for false against each statement. Agriculture and handicrafts were the main occupations. Absolutely correct. Very short answer type questions. Where was the permanent settlement introduced in India? So it was introduced in different parts of the India, wherein the lands were settled down to the landowners. Short answer type questions. What do you understand by permanent settlement? How did it benefit the British? All these kinds of settlements ultimately benefited the Britishers because they used to collect a fixed amount of land revenue from the landowners, also known as the zamindars. Long answer type questions. How was the Ryotwari system different from Mehelwari system? Mehelwari system was limited to the village level and Ryotwari system was a bigger one, जहाँ पे आपके अलग अलग जमींदार्स की नॉन पेमेंट्स की वजह से उनको निकाल भी दिया जाता था, which worsened the different farmers conditions also. Now skills enhancing corner, map work on an outline map of India. Mark the areas where the permanent settlement, Ryotwari settlement and Mehelwari settlement was introduced. So map निकालिए इंडिया का, कौन से locations में ये तीनों के तीनों systems enact हुए थे. Just mark it down. Then you have the NCERT corner. Please go through it properly, revise the entire chapter properly, and rest of the exercise questions, please do it yourselves.